Nick Nurse took to Tyrese Maxey's podcast to finally open up more, but did he accidentally reveal some of the Sixers' final roster plans? We'll break down everything he said right here on Philly Take with RB.
Perfect.
What is going on, everybody? RB here. Welcome into the show. Like always, hit the like button if you enjoy the content. Be sure to subscribe and also ring the bell. That way you don't miss any of the coverage. Today we are back, and Nick Nurse decided to hop on a podcast with Tyrese Maxey. Definitely took a listen to that, and it was very enjoyable. I really liked hearing Coach and what he had to say, in addition to what Tyrese Maxey thought about his incoming head coach. We'll break down all the thoughts, give really a nice summary here, but Nick Nurse got into some really interesting things, and he might have dipped into some insight that, of course, we are going to speculate on, and you'll never believe what Maxey had to say as well. But I want to ask you all right now, let me know down below in the comment section, if James Harden comes back with this current Sixers team right now, is it enough with Nick Nurse to get this team over the hump? Right, Daryl Morey talked about having a new leader, a new voice, and Nick Nurse, he feels that the Sixers were very, very close yet again. If they kind of keep this core intact right now, maybe add a piece or two, bringing in Nick Nurse, will that get the Sixers over the top to the conference finals, to the NBA championship? Give me your thoughts down below in the comment section. Before we jump into all our thoughts, shout out to our partner of today's video. Shout out to the partner of today's video, Mint Mobile. If you out there are similar to everyone else in the world who has thought to themselves at one point, why is my wireless bill so high? Then Mint Mobile is for you. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 per month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network and keep costs low because they sell directly to you online, cutting out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? You can go and use that money to treat yourself to a Sixers game or even buy a new jersey. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. They even offer super affordable family plans with as little as 2 lines. And switching to Mint is super easy thanks to their digital eSIM cards. You can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will actually ship you a new SIM card free of charge. The whole process will only take about 15 minutes. And if you get stuck, Mint has a great customer service team to help you through it. So if you are interested in reliable coverage and fast data for a fraction of the cost, go to mintmobile.com/PhillyTake. You can go right down to the description of this video and click the link, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. All right, man, let's jump right into it. So I actually summed up the podcast over on Twitter. Be sure to follow me if you have not yet at RBPhillyTake. I listened to the whole thing, but I took away some main points and I listed those over here on Twitter. So we'll go down one by one. The first one here is that Nick Nurse loves experimentation. He is a brilliant basketball mind. I have really enjoyed just listening to him talk in general. I really like the way he goes about things. And, Tyrese Maxey asked him his mindset. Where's that derived from? You're coming up with things on the fly and adjusting and things like that. And really, Nick Nurse said, I just have been in a lot of different basketball situations, whether it's, overseas or here, and I've won on different levels. And there are a lot of things I grew up with thinking, I don't agree with that. I think there is a much better method. And he kind of crafts his own mind, his own game plan with things and just tries certain things. And sometimes they don't work. But I really like, how he talked about, not being complacent, because you have to kind of expand your own mind, to be the best version of yourself. And he talked about that with the team, and he's going to try some of these quirky things. And again, maybe some will not work, but I like the fact he's willing to go and think outside the box. Now, number 2, he emphasized setting the tone once again. This is something that has really come up in every press conference so far with Nick Nurse, or, just everything in general. Anytime I hear this guy talk, he's talking about accountability, holding each other, accountable. And he talked about how if he wanted Tyrese Maxey, say, to pressure the ball more one night, he's going to then the next morning come back to him with a score. How well did you do that, right? They're going to go, based on a system. They're going to grade certain things. They're going to really dive in deep to these metrics just to make sure that they themselves are holding them accountable and making sure they're checking up on, where they're progressing, where they're getting better, etc. I like the fact that, he even said the night before training camp, everybody's going to come together and they're going to, do some exercise to make sure everybody can hold each other accountable, because that's important, right? when you go on a bad losing streak in November or you have a tough stretch in January, you want the team to be able to stick together. So I like that Nurse emphasized that. The third one was interesting. I don't think he meant to do it, but Nick Nurse was talking about some of the young guys. He was talking about the summer league, and I really like the fact that, he said he was, trying different looks and doing different things. I've obviously watched the summer league, and even the couple games that Nick Nurse coached when he's making these defensive adjustments on the fly. It's a beautiful thing to see because it's refreshing. The Sixers have not had a plethora of that. But he was talking about Jaden Springer. He was talking about Lewis King. And he actually slipped in that the Sixers might retain Filip Petrusev after Summer League, right? The draft and stash. And, we've watched Petrusev. And to be honest with you, I mean, he kind of looks the same he did, a couple years ago in Summer League. Great rebounder, great defender, especially down low in the block. But I don't know, man. It feels like he hasn't developed enough of an offensive game. However, Nick Nurse did say, Petrusev is going to be on the roster. And that makes me think, okay, well, what are the Sixers doing, right? They still need to get better in the margins. And if they do retain Petrusev and keep him on the roster, maybe he's one of the last roster spots, fine. But I hope he I hope he doesn't get a roster spot over Turk Smith. I hope he doesn't get a roster spot over Jaden Springer, because if the Sixers do end up keeping Petrusev on the roster, then they're going to have 5 centers, right? They'll have Joel Embiid, Paul Reed, Montrezl Harrell, Mo Bamba, and Filip Petrusev. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, a couple of them are power forwards. Listen, they're all bigs, all right? We can categorize them as bigs. You come into this opening day with 5 bigs on a roster, something is up. So maybe he didn't mean to say it. Maybe, he didn't really, intend to say that he's going to make it. Maybe he just meant like he has a chance to make it. I don't know. But do you think Petrusev is ready? I really do not think so at this point. Another thing I want to mention based on the roster, it's interesting. I'm not trying to speculate too much here, but Nick Nurse actually did say, that Joel's going to be in different situations, Maxey, Tobias, etc. He did not mention, to my knowledge and memory, James Harden one time. I do not remember him saying James Harden or talking about his role in the offense. So, maybe it's nothing, but definitely something to keep in mind, right? No mention, no whisper of James Harden there. And speaking of James Harden, we had conflicting reports yet again yesterday, as I put them here on Twitter. Dave McMenamin is saying that it's likely that Harden stays. Quote, the signals right now is that he will be back with the Sixers. Meanwhile, Ramona Shelburne is saying that he still wants to be traded. Quote, they've spoken again, and he still reiterated that he wants to be traded. Now, this is not a demand. It is a request. Here's the full quote. Harden has spoken to Daryl Morey since the first trade request, and I think there was some cooling off period. They've spoken again, and he still reiterated, now this isn't a demand, it is a request. So essentially saying that, it's not a guarantee to happen. We know Daryl Morey is going to stand on his ground, and this could honestly bleed into training camp this season. I really do not want that to happen, but we'll wait and see. Maybe, again, the Sixers are kind of guiding themselves towards 2024. But again, still the reporting on this situation is very, very odd. It's just a lot of back and forth. Now, Nick Nurse did talk about the offense, though, and he says, and I really like this conversation, right? They started to kind of dive into the XOs a little bit. They can't really do it that much. But Tyrese Maxey asked them, about some of the offensive things and what they want to do. And Nick Nurse says that he always likes to attack the best matchup, which might sound basic, but he gave examples in the NBA Finals, right? How the Toronto Raptors, didn't always run through Kawhi in that final series. Obviously, Kawhi had a legendary playoff run, but some nights it was Siakam, right? Because he had the best matchup against the Warriors. And sometimes, it was Fred VanVleet, whoever it may be. Nick Nurse really studies the in-game matchups, right? How things are adjusting on the fly. And he's going to say, all right, some nights, Maxey, you might have to go for 30 shots. If James is here, James, sometimes you might have to go for 30 shots. And he stressed being less predictable. He said he wants the Sixers to be more unpredictable on offense, which I think is very interesting. I do think it's interesting. He said that obviously, you want to have your identity. You want to run through what works the best, which is Joel Embiid probably down low. But he said, sometimes we're going to move the ball more, right? He's been stressing that. And he said sometimes it's not going to look the same. So we might see games where Joel Embiid doesn't have as high of a volume of shots, but maybe he's getting his teammates involved and trying to become more dynamic of a center. And maybe it's just not going to look like what we have expected it to look like for years, right? What we have seen for years. Maybe the offense is not going to look like that at all. And maybe Tyrese Maxey can finally get more involved. Because, again, there's some nights where, he would go off for 25, 30 points, and then you don't even hear about him for a couple games. So Nick Nurse is constantly going to be trying different things and getting more of the players involved. Even Tobias, right? Sometimes Tobias has the best matchup. He's going up against third, fourth best defenders, maybe fifth best defender on the opposing team. Get Tobias involved, right? If he's going to be here. So I expect Nick Nurse to get really creative, and it will be interesting to see how this Sixers offense likes to play out. The last thing that was funny, though, was that Tyrese Maxey said that he's never had a coach who tested new things in game. The other day, Jaden Springer said that, they were doing some practice drills and they were really just honing in, focusing on the little things. And, he had never seen a coach like that at all. It's funny how these guys are so young and innocent, yet they still accidentally throw shade at Doc Rivers. He was obviously complimenting Nick Nurse, but at the same time, he was kind of throwing some shade. And I'm going to play the audio clip so you can hear what he had to say. Here's the quote, but listen to what Maxey had to say about that.
One thing I really thought about is like how you say you try new things and like you test them out. Like that's crazy. I've never like had a coach like actually like, you know what I'm saying? Like test them out in the games. And I've seen you test it out against us in the game, like a regular season game. It works.
You say you try new things and you test them out. Like that's crazy. I've never had a coach that actually tests them out in the games. Tyrese Maxey's never had a coach that actually adjusts on the fly. You take that for what it is. The fact of the matter is that I think Nick Nurse is a creative, brilliant basketball mind, and I cannot wait to see what he draws up. I think the Sixers have a lot of talent, but obviously they still want to add more. I think Nick Nurse can get the best out of some of these players that maybe become stagnant at times, maybe, fade off and disappear under some of the previous coaches. I think Nick Nurse will get the best out of him, and he seems ingrained from that whole episode. He seems ingrained in it. He really, really loves it. He's going to be the one staying up till 3 a.m. just because of the true desire to coach. And I think he's hungry. He wants another championship. And I hope it is here in Philadelphia. I'm glad that the two of them, Maxey and Nurse, are already on the same page. So we'll see how it all plays out. Give me your thoughts down below in the comment section. As always, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that being said, I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.